Hello everybody. My name is Tom Burns, and long time no see. It's been a while since I've been here doing a stream. In fact, when I went to edit my stream stuff and edit my titles on YouTube, I noticed that the last time that I had gone live was for the Super Bowl, which was at the very start of February. So we're at the very start of April now. So it's been nearly 2 months since I'd done a stream, and I do apologise about that. I try and be as consistent as I possibly can, but sometimes it just falls by the wayside, and I apologise about that. I hope to be consistent going forward, but I do always say that, and then I end up not being. So I'm not going to promise anything really. Um, Today, with it being WrestleMania just around the corner, we're going to talk about all things WrestleMania. Not necessarily what's going to happen at this year's WrestleMania, although we could do some predictions, but we could just talk about WrestleMania in general. Um, you know, Past WrestleManias. We could talk about the potential of a UK WrestleMania. Of course, um, the WWE was over in the UK recently, and Triple H was on a talk show. I can't remember which one it was now, but he was basically asked about a London WrestleMania. But we'll get into that a bit later on because that is something I apologise about that, ladies and gentlemen. When you live with your gran, sometimes you have to pop off every now and then. I thought she was in bed, to be honest, but hey ho. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Saying about Triple H being on that talk show, but we will talk about that later because that is something I do want to talk about. Because it's sort of an update in sort of. So we'll get into that later on. But before we get into the nitty gritty of the stream, what we're going to be talking about. Before we get into the nitty gritty of the stream and what we're going to talk about today, we couldn't do What's the News podcast without my co host. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Wigglytuff.
Thank you, Tom. A wiggly wiggly to you and a wiggly wiggly to all of you out there. It's been a while, but hope you're all keeping well. An awful lot has happened in the world since the turn of the year, since we last did one of these in full. We'll try and talk about lots of stuff, but yeah, lots to discuss. Looking forward to discussing it, and yeah, good to be back. Good to be back.
Okay, well, thank you for that. So yeah, we are going to. Oh, hang on a minute. Need that open. That's it. So as far as what we're talking about today, like I said, it's going to be WrestleMania related. So I think we should talk about this year's WrestleMania for a start. And I think we should start off with. Oh, I've just realised I didn't change my Twitch title. I still have it as the Super Bowl title. I apologise about that. Let me just sort that out now. There you go. Right. Updated. There you go. You should be fine now. Yeah. So yeah. I think what we should talk about first is this year's WrestleMania, and what I think we should talk about before we get into our predictions and stuff like that. I think we should talk about the sad part of WrestleMania 41, and that being what we found out on Friday Night SmackDown, just gone, that Kevin Owens is going to be out for the foreseeable future with a neck injury. With a neck injury, and he said for the last 4 months he's been suffering with a relatively serious neck injury, and he found out this week that he's going to have neck surgery. PW Insider, a relatively reliable source, has said that he could be out for up to 2 to 5 years, which is insane. But when it comes to a neck injury, it's difficult to put a time on it. But PW Insider said he's going to be out for at least 2 to 5 years, which is devastating for Kevin Owens fans, for Kevin Owens himself, of course, because this is going to shorten his career, no doubt. It's very sad. I mean, a lot of people were looking forward to seeing the Randy Orton Kevin Owens match at WrestleMania. I still believe Randy Orton will have a match at WrestleMania, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, I just wanted to, it's, a lot of people saying it's, a lot of people still are saying it's a work. It's blatantly not a work. You'd have to be an idiot to think it's a work. To be honest, I mean, people just think everything's a work these days, that nothing can be real, but there is real things that can happen, and unfortunately this is something that is very real. Neck injuries are not something usually joked about or even faked, so not serious ones anyway, because people have died from neck injuries in the ring, people have been paralysed, all sorts of stuff has happened. So it's not something that WWE would fake or joke about, really. So yeah, I feel so sorry for Kevin Owens. It's such bad timing. I mean, there's no good timing to get a neck injury, but especially with WrestleMania just around the corner, it's such bad timing for him, and I just feel sorry for him. But that's really all I have to say about the Kevin Owens injury. We will get into the rest of what's going to be happening this year at WrestleMania and our predictions. But Professor Wigglytuff, what do you think about Kevin Owens' injury?
Yeah, obviously very sad news. I'm not going to lie, I'm not massive. I haven't ever been a massive Kevin Owens fan for various reasons, but I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's a good guy on the mic. He's a good guy in the ring, and it's easy to see why he's very popular. And I just think it's extremely sad, given recent high-profile rivalries he's been involved in. That that he's going to have to take a lengthy amount of time out. With the possibility that we may never see him in the ring again. That would be extremely sad. But as you said, the business of neck injuries is no laughing matter. It's no joke. And, I'm sure we all wish him well in his upcoming surgery and recovery. I'm sure this isn't the last time we will see of Kevin Owens in a WWE capacity or any wrestling promotion. I'm sure he will be involved in something wrestling related within that period, however long it takes for him to rehabilitate. And hopefully, if he does make that recovery, he will be able to get back in the ring and have a couple of matches. But otherwise, for now, we wish him well, and I'm sure many fans out there, are hoping he makes I want to say a speedy recovery, but I'll say a recovery in the best possible time frame.
Yeah, very, very, very sad. It's very sad, and I wish we both wish Kevin Owens all the best for his surgery coming up, and we hope that he has a speedy recovery, and we hope to see you soon, Kevin. But moving on from that, we're going to get into our predictions for WrestleMania coming up now. Because I think we've pretty much got the full match card now. Looking like a relatively decent WrestleMania, to be honest. Some really good matches. Let me just get the match card up. When was this done? That was April 1st, published on April 1st. Well, we need a more up-to-date one. 4 hours ago. Here we go. Okay. Matches. Right. So, here's the matches so far. So let's talk about the Randy Orton Kevin Owens match. We know it's not going to happen, but I predict that Randy Orton will have some form of open challenge. A lot of people saying, obviously, because we've been having the teasers, it's now very obvious that it's Aleister Black / Malachi Black that's coming back. A lot of people saying that it's going to be him. Apparently, Rusev has re-signed to WWE as well, from what I've read. So people are saying it could be him. Hang on a minute. Something's going on here with. Well, no, hang on. We're back, I think. Sorry, something going on with my YouTube. No, we're okay. We're okay. Yeah, a lot of people saying it could be Rusev as well. But yeah, my assumption is there is going to be some form of open challenge, and it'll be very interesting to see who they manage to get Randy Orton to face. What do you think is going to happen with Randy Orton?
Well, I've heard various rumors. I mean, he will still get a match at WrestleMania. One bizarre rumor, well, I wouldn't call it bizarre, but one rumor that's out there is that it may well be a match with Nick Aldis, but I think that might be something further down the line as opposed to at WrestleMania. I think it's something that deserves a bit of a build up. Another rumor is with Sami Zayn, because obviously they recently had a bit of a rift, didn't they? And obviously he's Kevin Owens' friend, so that could be a possibility. I can't think off the top of my head who else could be, because I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, it could be one of the returning wrestlers like Aleister Black or Rusev, but obviously if they're returning, they're not going to return to have a loss in their first match back. So it's a difficult one. Who is Drew McIntyre facing at WrestleMania?
Damian Priest.
Damian Priest. Okay. Is there an obvious person who isn't on the card? Is Sheamus out injured?
Sheamus is out injured, I believe, because he's not been seen for a bit. I don't know what sort of injury he had. I think it was like a knee injury or something. I'm not sure though.
Uh,
I can't think of anybody like obvious, anybody that would be, a big enough name to face Randy Orton at WrestleMania. I'm just trying to think. I can't think.
no, I can't either. I'm sure they'll find somebody,
Yeah,
or maybe a tag team or something. I don't know. He'll get in a tag team. I don't know. Let's. We'll see. We'll see. But I'm sure Randy Orton will be at WrestleMania in some capacity.
yeah, he's definitely gonna be there. Right, so let's talk about. Let's go for the Io Sky Bianca Belair match to start with. This is obviously going to be a triple threat. I mean, everything's pointing towards it. Rhea is going to be in that match as well. I mean, after that double disqualification on Raw last week, or technically still this week, it's very obvious that that's the way they're going. We'll probably get the confirmation tomorrow night on Monday Night Raw. But let's just go with the assumption that it is going to be a triple threat match. Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, Io Sky. What are the predictions here? It's a difficult one, because I really want Io to retain because I don't feel it's fair for her to lose the championship so quickly after winning it. I really think that she deserves another run, and she's massively over at the moment. People love her. So I think it would be unfair to just halt her momentum right there. But you've got two of the biggest names in WWE at the moment, women wise, in that match with her. If Io is winning, who's taking that pin? Because Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley very rarely get pinned. So who is taking that pin if Io is winning? That's the interesting thing. But my prediction, although I do want Io to win, my prediction is my prediction is that I think that I think Bianca's winning. If regardless whether it's a triple threat match or whether it ends up being the one-on-one match, I think Bianca's going to win. So what do you think? Assuming it is going to be that triple threat match, who's your prediction for that match?
I mean, I'm biased here because as you know, I'm a massive Io Sky fan, but at the same time, I do think, I do think she will get the win, and the reason I say that is, well, I think she's due a big win at WrestleMania. That's number one. Number two, the way that they've been building up this match, this feud for the last few weeks, the focus has been more on Rhea and Bianca. Well, their focus has been on each other as opposed to on Io. Io, at the best of times, has been treated as a bit of an afterthought. So I think what's going to happen is Io still gets the win, but this will build up or lead on to a massive grudge match between Bianca and Rhea. And I think that's also a good thing because, as I mentioned on another podcast the other day, as we've seen in recent years with some of the men's matches, the big rivalries, and over the years, it doesn't need a belt at stake to be a big match. I can think of many, even WrestleMania matches, which I'm sure you'll agree with, that didn't require a title on the line to be a massive match or even a main event, as we've seen with one of the main events this year, obviously being another triple threat match. So, yeah, I think Io will come out with the win. And, I will add why I think that might be extra important a little bit later when we discuss other predictions.
Okay, all right. Well, we're going to take a short break. short toilet break. But we will be back, and when we come back, we will be discussing more of the match card, and our predictions, and we will be discussing other WrestleManias as well. So we'll see you shortly. Hello, everybody. We are back and we are ready to talk more about this year's WrestleMania. We just talked about the Io Sky Bianca Belair match, and assuming it will be a triple threat, we talked about it in that way. I said I think Bianca Belair's winning, and Wigglytuff said that he thinks Io's going to retain. So we will see who is right when WrestleMania comes around. So, our next match, let's talk about. One of the matches that has recently been confirmed on SmackDown, just gone. Jade Cargill versus Naomi in a singles match. I half expected this to be like some form of stipulation match and not just a normal match, but it is just going to be a normal match unless more is revealed over the next two SmackDowns before WrestleMania. We will see. But Jade Cargill versus Naomi. I think this is very obvious where this one's going. I think Jade Cargill's winning this. I think Jade Cargill will get a big solo WrestleMania moment, and I think it will be a good match as well because Jade Cargill is improving massively. So I do think it will be a good match, and Naomi's good in the ring anyway. So I do think it will be a good match. But yeah, my prediction is that I think Jade Cargill's winning the match. I think it's fairly obvious. What do you think?
Oh, I think it's a foregone conclusion. Jade Cargill gets a very big win, a very dominant win here. I think akin to a squash match. Well, I don't know if they do a squash match per se, but a very one-sided win, I reckon. I can't see it any other way. Yeah, that's all I have to say on that one, really.
Right. Well, I'm just looking at this match card now. There's one match that we can't talk about yet because we haven't got the actual match for it yet. We know that Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez are going to be defending their women's tag team championships against whatever women's tag team wins the gauntlet match that is going to be happening over Raw and SmackDown next week. So we can't really talk about that yet. So we won't. So our next match, let's talk about AJ Styles, Logan Paul. This one's a bit of a difficult one to predict because on one side of it, I think that AJ Styles should wipe the floor with him and show him what show Logan what a proper wrestler can do. On the other side of it, though, Logan Paul, does he get a big win at WrestleMania and that propels him into bigger storylines? I'm not sure. I mean, WWE seem to really like Logan Paul. I think mainly because he makes them a lot of money. But they do. Bomber Burleson says, "What's your stream about?" Well, we're talking all we're talking about today is WrestleMania, WWE WrestleMania, with it being just around the corner. So if that's something you're interested in, you're more than welcome to stay. If not, then please pop back because we talk about different things every time we do one of these podcasts. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So it's a bit of a difficult one to predict, and I like the fact that it's a difficult one to predict because I like unpredictable matches. But this is about predictions, and I have to make a prediction. So I think that AJ Styles is going to win. It's going to be a very good match, I believe. I think it's going to be a close match. I think there's going to be some close calls. But I think that AJ Styles will walk out with the victory. Over to you.
Difficult one to predict because, as you said, I mean, they're giving Logan Paul his exposure. They flew him out. Obviously, he was at the London event last week, as it were. Um, but obviously, AJ Styles has just returned, so difficult one. My heart says AJ Styles, but I'm gonna go with my head, and I'm gonna say the opposite of you and say that Logan Paul gets to win. And I think also kind of begins because AJ Styles had hinted a while back that he wanted to retire within at that point in the next couple of years, which this year, next year, sort of will be. So I think over the next sort of year and a half to 2 years, this is what will kind of kick off that process of him, starting to kind of call it a day, maybe.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Bomber says, "Why don't you get a stand for your microphone? It saves you holding it." Well, I did have a stand, but my stand broke for it, and I have yet to be able to replace it. It's a bit difficult just getting a stand, because a lot of, like, I've been looking on Amazon, and a lot of mics come with a stand already, and I don't really want to get. There's nothing wrong with this mic. This mic's absolutely fine, as you can tell, because you can hear me. This mic, there's nothing wrong with it. It's a brilliant mic. Probably one of the best mics I've ever had, but the stand was awful for it, and it broke really quickly. So I will get another stand for it soon, because it is a little bit annoying having to hold it all the time. But for the time being, until I can actually find just a stand, I'm going to have to keep holding it. But oh well. Anyway, back to WrestleMania. And our next match I think that we need to talk about is another one that's recently been confirmed on SmackDown as well. And that is LA Knight defending his United States Championship against Jacob Fatu. Now, Jacob Fatu, as far as I'm aware, has yet to take a pinfall, or has yet to be pinned or submitted. As far as I'm aware, I'm pretty sure. He just won a last man standing match against Braun to earn the match at WrestleMania against LA Knight. I think we see a new United States champion. I want LA Knight to retain because he's massively over, and he should get a lengthy championship run, in my opinion, because he did hold the United States Championship before, but he didn't really get that much of a lengthy run. So I think he should have a lengthy run this time, but I don't think he's going to get one, because I don't see any way that Jacob Fatu takes the loss at WrestleMania, unless, now this could happen. There's been a lot of teases of a rift between Jacob Fatu and the rest of the bloodline, that being Tama Tonga and Solo Sikoa. There's been teases of a rift between the three of them for a fair few weeks now. So there could be a way that Jacob does lose if it's something to do with Solo. Solo could screw him, and that could be the start of the rivalry between Solo and Jacob Fatu. I mean, I thought that Jacob versus Solo was going to happen at WrestleMania, but I think that was the original plan. But I think they've bottled it, to be honest, and just had Jacob face LA Knight instead. But I think that if the only way that Jacob will lose is if it's something to do with Solo, and Solo screws him at WrestleMania. But my prediction is, because I don't know how likely that is to happen, my prediction is that I think Jacob Fatu becomes the new United States champion. What about you?
Yeah, I think that as well. They're building him up to be dominant, so I can't see him taking a loss, albeit a clean loss, at WrestleMania. However, yeah, there are hints that all may not be sound in the world of the bloodline. So it is entirely possible that we might see some sort of interference there. cost him the belt. But we see. But I'm going with a Jacob Fatu win.
Go. Yeah, it's the first match we've. No, it's the second match we've agreed on actually, because we agreed on the Jade Cargill one as well. Okay, we'll talk about the Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair for the WWE Women's Championship. Now this one is. I don't think this one is as easy to predict as people think, because people think that Charlotte's just going to run over Tiffany and become the new champion. I mean, judging on Charlotte's history of not putting people over and always getting championships every time she comes back from injury, I feel like there's a very big possibility it could go the same way. But I also believe that WWE are very hot on Tiffany at the moment. So I also believe that they won't want to halt that momentum by having her lose on the biggest stage of them all. So to me, it is a bit of a difficult one to predict, although most people think it's very easy to predict. But as much as I think it would be stupid for WWE to have Tiffany lose because it would halt her momentum, I do believe that is what's going to happen. Even though it could go the other way as well, I am going to predict that Charlotte Flair becomes your new WWE Women's Champion. I really hope not, because I'm not a massive fan of her. But that's my prediction. I think Charlotte Flair wins the WWE Women's Championship. Over to you.
Yeah, I think I agree. This is a bit of a difficult one. Now, yeah, as you said, Charlotte Flair isn't known for really going over for others. But I think, I think this might be one of those rare occasions where she does. And, the signs are sort of there with the fact that, obviously Tiffany Stratton's extremely popular. They're kind of molding her as a new version of Charlotte. And also the promos, which haven't always gone very smoothly. But I just get the hint that maybe this time, the Queen isn't going to get her way and the Queen isn't going to reign. And I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, just to kind of give Tiffany Stratton her WrestleMania moment. Charlotte Flair's had so many WrestleMania moments over the years, so many significant ones. I don't think this would do any damage to her aura or her profile at all. Taking a loss, to Tiffany Stratton, whether that be a clean loss or one with some kind of interference or something. But yeah, I'm gonna go with a Tiffany Stratton win.
Okay, so we've gone the opposite on there. Right, so we've not got many matches left to talk about now, but let's talk about our three main matches now of the WrestleMania weekend. So, our first one, let's talk about out of the three, which one is the least, well, I wouldn't say the least important, but the one that isn't as big as the other two, and that is Jey Uso versus Jey Uso, the Yeet Man, versus Gunter, the Ring General, or Ring General, should I say. I feel like this is going to be, for me, as much as I like Jey Uso and as much as I respect Gunter's in-ring ability, and every time Gunter's in that ring, he usually puts on a banger, as Sheamus would say. I wasn't that hyped for this match. I thought I'd be more hyped for it than I was, but I wasn't. And then Monday Night Raw came around this week, just gone, and Gunter did what he did to Jimmy Uso, absolutely destroying Jimmy Uso, literally covering himself in Jimmy Uso's blood, tasting Jimmy's blood. It was something straight out of the Attitude Era, something that you very rarely see in this day and age. You very rarely see blood, and to see blood to that extent, I can't remember the last time I saw blood to that extent. I'm now quite hyped for the match because I think this is where Jey Uso comes out fighting, and I think that Jey Uso is and this might people might laugh at this laugh at me for saying this, but I think Jey Uso is going to destroy Gunter at WrestleMania after what Gunter did to Jimmy. You don't mess with a man's family, and that's what Gunter did, and he's made it very, very personal. And I believe that Jey is going to absolutely destroy Gunter at WrestleMania and become the new world heavyweight champion. That is my prediction. That is what I think is going to happen. Over to you.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a while, and sorry, just excuse me. Oh gosh. Dear, beg your pardon. Now, I've been thinking about this for a while, and I was, adamant since the Royal Rumble that Jey Uso, because of the fact that he's quite over with the fans and with the Yeet and all this, that he was going to get the win. But as the weeks gone by, and also given last Monday's events, I actually think quite the opposite. I actually think Gunter is going to get the win. And why do I say that? Because for me, there are hints that I believe that there's going to be a bit of a feud again between Jimmy and Jey Uso. And one thing that kind of really pinpointed that was there was a segment on Raw which I noticed, but obviously I didn't see the TV coverage because, as we'll get onto later, I was there. But where he whispered something in Jey's ear. Now, obviously, we don't know what he whispered, but it obviously garnered a bit of a strange reaction. Now, why do I mention this? Because I think Gunter is going to win because Jimmy is going to cost Jey the match in some respect, in some way or another, and I think it could be a case of Jimmy being jealous of Jey. The whole "if I couldn't beat Gunter, why should you be allowed to do that?" blah 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 sort of thing. And I just feel that it's not time for Gunter to drop the title just yet. I think, in my opinion, they made a mistake having him lose the IC title the way he did at WrestleMania. Although it was still, it went down very well with Sammy winning it, but I still feel that reign should have gone on a little bit longer. I don't think he's going to drop the title at WrestleMania. It's and ironically, it's not going to be the main event on either night 1 or night 2. So where they fit that in is anyone's guess. But I'm thinking it will either be the opening match of night 1 or the opening match of night 2. I suspect it will be the opening match of night 1.
Yeah, that's what I think. Okay, well, very interesting prediction from you there. We shall see what happens. So we got 2 matches left to talk about. Let's talk about the main event of night 1. Roman Reigns versus CM Punk with Paul Heyman in his corner. And versus Seth freaking Rollins. Now, I find that this is probably one of the most difficult matches, if not the most difficult match of the whole weekend to predict. Because I feel like any of these men could win. I think it would make sense for any of them to win. I honestly do. I think if Seth won, it would make sense. He gets revenge on the man he hates, which is CM Punk, and also he gets revenge on another man that he doesn't really like, which is Roman Reigns. If CM Punk wins, then he lives up to his name as the best in the world, and he wins with Paul Heyman in his corner, and he also gets another victory over Seth Rollins as well, which finishes their trilogy sort of. If Roman Reigns wins, it's not gonna, it's Roman Reigns. Of course, it would make sense for Roman Reigns to win because that's all I need to say. It's Roman Reigns. Um, so that's why it's difficult to predict. But in my opinion, I think it would be. I think it would be silly for WWE not to have CM Punk win his very first main event. So I think that CM Punk is going to win at WrestleMania in the main event of night one. That's my prediction. That's what I'm sticking with. What do you think?
I really don't know. But I think we have a bit. It'll be interesting to see how this whole thing with Paul Heyman and CM Punk's corner plays out. Now, there are different rumors that it could be, Heyman turning on Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins somehow gets the win, and then amongst all the kerfuffle, all that CM Punk gets the win. It's difficult. It's difficult. I can't imagine Roman Reigns taking a loss by being pinned. So something is going to happen. I wouldn't even rule out the possibility that Paul Heyman betrays CM Punk. And we get a situation where it starts building up for next year's WrestleMania, where CM Punk is desperate to win the Royal Rumble, get his main event, and win the title at WrestleMania next year. So, yeah, this is a tricky one. I feel, given that the focus has been on CM Punk and with Roman Reigns, with the whole Paul Heyman being in Punk's corner thing, I think I'm going to say that Seth Rollins gets the win.
Seth Rollins. Interesting. Very interesting.
Although 2 consecutive WrestleManias with Roman Reigns losing, I'm not sure. So I think either Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns comes out with the win.
Interesting.
Because I still think they're going to keep Roman Reigns looking dominant. And I still predict, maybe not this year, but he will have the belt back again at some point. Whether it's him versus Gunther at some point, I don't know. But I think it's going to be either Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns. I don't think CM Punk's going to get his win. He'll get his main event, but not his win. But I still think CM Punk's story still has some time to go.
Yeah. Okay, well, we've got one more match left to talk about. And it's, of course, John Cena's very final match at WrestleMania. Not his final match overall, just his final match at WrestleMania. John Cena, newly turned heel John Cena, versus Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Championship. Again, I feel like this one's very difficult to predict because I feel like it really could go either way. I think if Cody won, if Cody won, I feel like he would lose it to Cena further down the road, so I don't think it would really matter. But to me, if Cena's winning a 17th championship, I'm sorry, but there's no bigger place to do it than WrestleMania. I don't think he should win the 17th championship, which is record breaking, at a B pay-per-view, BPLE like Backlash or Payback or something like that. I don't think so. I think it has to be at a big PLE, and there's no bigger PLE than WrestleMania. If not WrestleMania, it's SummerSlam. Either WrestleMania or SummerSlam. It can't happen anywhere else. in my opinion. So I feel like it is quite a difficult one to predict. I do think it will be a good match. I'm trying to think if Cody and Cena faced before. Probably when Cody was in WWE before, they probably did. But they haven't faced since Cody came back and since Cody has become the American Nightmare. So I do think it will be a good match. And I'm gonna say that my prediction is that John Cena becomes the 17 time world champion. That is what I think is going to happen. But before I pass over to my co-host, I think there's going to be some form of shenanigans going on in that match. I think The Rock gets involved in some way, because why have The Rock be a part of this story where John Cena sold his soul to The Rock if The Rock's not going to be at WrestleMania to sort of be involved in some way? There's rumours that Stone Cold is going to be there to help out Cody. Stone Cold is going to be in the vicinity because he is his match with Bret Hart is being inducted into the Hall of Fame, so him and Bret Hart are going to be there. So I believe he is going to be in the vicinity. So if he is going to be helping Cody, then he's going to be there. So I don't think it's just going to be a straight one-on-one match with nothing happening. I think there's going to be shenanigans, and I think there's going to be some big names coming out. Genetic ACGT, greetings, just stopping by for a bit to support you guys. Thank you very much. Thank you, Genetic, and welcome. But yeah, I'll pass it over to you now. What's your prediction for the main event of night 2?
I genuinely don't know on this one. It would be obvious that if John Cena was going to get title number 17, that it should be at WrestleMania. However, it would look way too obvious at this stage that he would win it at WrestleMania due to interference, being a heel, blah, blah, blah. And one would question whether or not that heel turn should have been saved until WrestleMania, when he won the title, as in, turning heel to win the title at WrestleMania. So that's one school of thought. The other is more, would that be a good way for him to get title 17 and have Cody lose in that way? Because obviously, as much as it's preferable for him to win his title at WrestleMania, there is still the rest of the year. That being said, as well, in the past, John Cena had been very adamant that he was okay with being 16-time champs, and he didn't want number 17. Whether that still is the case, we don't know. But I'm not sure, because I've got this bizarre theory that maybe we might see another heel turn. And that heel turn could be Cody aligning with The Rock after all to screw on John Cena. And that ultimately builds up to a feud with The Rock, where we have Rock Cena Part 3, and Cena gets the title somehow off The Rock. How does that happen? I don't know exactly, whether it's for a legit WWE title or whether it's for The Rock's People's Championship belt or something, or some kind of special Champion of Champions belt. I don't know. But I'm going to make a bizarre theory and say that Cody Rhodes is going to win because he ultimately will turn heel on John Cena in a sort of kind of double twist, if that makes sense. Is what I'm saying making sense in terms of how that heel turn could work?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't rule it out, because the build-up is making it look so obvious that John Cena would win because of help from The Rock and because of the fact that he's turned heel, blah blah blah, all of this, etc. But you just don't know. You just don't know with all this.
Yeah.
So it could well be a case of Cody was prepared ultimately. You could see that ultimately. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. It's a case of we are now assuming that John Cena is going to win because he's going to get help from The Rock, but maybe we're led to believe that, and that somehow Cody all along was going to sell his soul to The Rock, but this was all a way to kind of dupe John Cena. And humiliate John Cena at WrestleMania and end his legacy or something, and then you between him, Cody, and The Rock.
Yeah. I see where you're going.
But ultimately, Title 17 should be at WrestleMania, and if there is going to be a Rock Cena Part 3, in my honest opinion, that should have been at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I agree. Interesting prediction. The only issue I have with that prediction is that, I mean, don't get me wrong, it would be a massive, massive twist in this story, and one that not many people would see coming, and that's the sort of thing you want. You want unpredictability. However, the issue I have is that Cena has turned heel, and he has gone in on the fans over the last sort of 3 weeks. If Cody was to align himself with The Rock, I don't believe that turns Cena back face, because I feel like the fans, even if that happens, are not going to feel sorry for Cena because of everything that Cena has said over the last sort of 3 weeks. So if that does happen, I don't believe that it's going to be a case of, everyone feels sorry for Cena. Cena gets his revenge on Cody and Rock. I just don't see how it would work in that way, because if they did it and Cena remained heel, how does it work? Because you can't have Cena, a heel, going after Cody and The Rock, two other heels, because it just doesn't really make much sense. Because you don't really get many heel versus heel rivalries, because it just doesn't work, because the crowd get bored with it very, very quickly, because they're like, we don't like anybody here.
That's what I mean, though. I think it's a case of it puts John Cena in an awkward situation because he turned heel to get the title, and where all along he was, sucked in by The Rock and Cody, and yeah, I wouldn't rule that out. Because, ultimately, let's not forget, this time last year, John Cena came out to kind of fight The Rock, as it were, in the context of what's his face, when he interfered in Cody's match. So
yeah, I mean,
there's beef between The Rock and John Cena.
yeah.
And somehow I don't think The Rock's going to simply overlook that either. So I wouldn't rule that out. But even with a heel John Cena, though, I still feel it would be way too obvious to let the heel John Cena win. So I genuinely don't know on this occasion. I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see.
I mean, sometimes the obvious is what WWE go for. I mean, they're known for going for predictable results. Unfortunately, that's one thing that a lot of us WWE fans do not like. I mean, it has been very much unpredictable as of late, but it's been, WWE has been very well known to be very predictable.
Unless it's a thing like, a bit like how we had at WrestleMania 18 when we had Brock versus somebody who shall not be named, when that person who shall not be named turned to his colleagues in the NWO and said to them not to interfere because he wants to find out for himself.
Mm.
I wonder if if John Cena does something like that, where he says, I don't want any interference. I want to see this I want to try this for myself.
Yeah.
And whether in the course of that, not that I'm saying he kind of sheds his heel persona, but whether it's a case of he loses cleanly to Cody and then shakes his hand at the end, and as a sort of passing the torch moment.
Yeah. I mean,
That would be a better way to end it.
yeah. Here's the thing for me. Like I said, I feel like if they were to go down that route, which is possible, I feel like unless Cena came out, because we know that Cena is going to be there on the Raw after WrestleMania. He's confirmed for that. So we know. So he's either going to come out, he's either coming out as the new champion, or he's coming out maybe to give Cody props, or maybe to call The Rock out because he's been screwed. I don't know, but he's definitely going to be there, so we know that. So either. So the only way I see this working with Cody turning heel and aligning himself with The Rock, and for Cena to turn face, the only way a face turn for Cena would work, and I think it would be stupid to do a face turn so quickly, but if that's what they want to do, the only way it would work is if Cena came out on the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania, did a promo where he apologised to the crowd. He said he let The Rock talk him into selling his soul. Basically just blame The Rock entirely for the heel turn and try and get sympathy that way. Potentially it could work in that way, but he would have to come out on the Raw after WrestleMania and give some form of face promo to try and get the crowd back on his side, because they ain't gonna feel sorry for him without him doing some sort of promo, because he's berated the fans and he said some horrible stuff to the fans over the last few weeks. It isn't going to be a case of he loses at WrestleMania because he's screwed and all of a sudden the fans are going to feel sorry for him and he's just instantly turned back heel. That's not going to happen. He's going to have to do a promo on the Raw after WrestleMania, and it's going to have to be a good promo to get the crowd back on his side. But we will see. We'll see if that happens. But yeah, I think that brings to the end our predictions for this year's WrestleMania. Now,
There's a couple of other matches we haven't mentioned, but the one that I would mention is the this tag team match between Liv and with Liv and Rodrigo.
yeah, well, we don't know anybody that's in this gauntlet yet, so it's hard to talk about.
Well, the tag team I would hope for, and I don't know if it's too soon for them to return, would be the Kabuki Warriors, Kairi and Asuka.
I mean, Asuka's been out a while. I mean, I would like to see that happen, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But I would like to see it if possible.
Well, the rumor is that eventually, when she does return, they want it to be at the same time as Kairi, as the Kabuki Warriors. So
yeah.
I wonder if it could be a case of they return, they win the tag team titles at WrestleMania, Io wins, and Damage Control celebrate together.
Yeah.
That's a possibility. There's Damian Priest Drew McIntyre match, which
that's not even on this match card. Well, why is that?
Oh, is it?
Well, it's definitely is happening because it's already been confirmed. But for some reason, it's not on this match card, and apparently this was done like yesterday, so I don't know. But it's definitely happening because it's been confirmed. So
okay. Who do you have down for that one?
Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre. It's difficult because I don't believe that either should take a loss, because I think that it would. Thing is with Drew is he's not exactly had the best year, as he's stated multiple times. Well, the past year. He's not had the best year, has he? Because he's been, as he puts it, been screwed multiple times by CM Punk. He's had multiple World Heavyweight Championship matches. He lost them all. He cashed in his Money in the Bank and lost it. So he's not had the best year. So I think Drew needs the win, in my opinion. But then there is Damien Priest as well, who is massively popular with the fans at the moment. And someone that shouldn't lose either, because I think that derails his momentum. So it's a difficult one to predict, but I am going to say that I think that Drew McIntyre is going to get the win in that one.
I'm going to say the opposite. I reckon Damien Priest gets his win.
Interesting.
But we shall see. We shall see. Isn't there a women's intercontinental title match as well?
Nope.
I thought Lyra Valkyria was going to have a match at WrestleMania.
Not yet. It's not been confirmed yet. Like I said, we're still a few weeks off yet. If any other matches are confirmed, whenever we do stream next, because I want to stream before WrestleMania, if possible. I have got an idea for a stream, so I'll talk about that later. But I believe that there will be a Women's Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania. I also believe there will be a Women's United States Championship match at WrestleMania. They're just yet to be confirmed, because Lyra takes on Bayley this coming Monday Night Raw for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. So I think it'll be a case of Lyra retains, and then maybe somebody comes out after the match and challenges her to a match at WrestleMania or something like that. Or maybe it'll be a multi-woman match or something, I don't know.
Well, here's a thought. If Asuka and Kairi are returning, and if they're going to win the tag team titles, if Io wins her title match, that just leaves Dakota Kai without a title or without a significant match. So maybe she might have a match with somebody and win.
Yeah.
And control win a title. That would be a sort of good way to give them a bit of a moment, a WrestleMania moment. But we shall see. Everything will surely come into place in the next weeks.
Yeah. I think that's it for this year's WrestleMania. Like I said, I have got an idea for another stream before WrestleMania, and I will talk about that a little bit later. I'm not really going to be able to give a day when I'm going to be able to do it, because I've only got my rota for this week and I haven't got any of the rotas after that. So, but hopefully, on Friday I'll be doing more rotas, hopefully at least 2 to 3 weeks worth. So that'll lead up to WrestleMania and after WrestleMania as well. So I'll be able to give you a more idea of when I can do that stream. But we'll talk about that later, like I say. How long have we been streaming? Just over an hour. So let's just. We've sort of talked about this before in past streams. I believe we did a stream very similar to this last year. It weren't part of this podcast, because this only started sort of like late last year. But we used to do the odd sort of stream here and there beforehand, before we decided to call it a podcast and actually label it. I believe we did do a similar stream to this last year, where we talked about all things WrestleMania and our favourite WrestleMania moments and stuff like that. And I don't think we really need to go over the same sort of things again. But I want to ask a very interesting question. This is something that we didn't really talk about last time. I'm trying to think of things that we didn't talk about last time when it comes to WrestleMania, and we didn't really talk about this last time. And it's a very interesting question, because I think there could be multiple answers here. But you can't talk about WrestleMania without talking about the synonymous streak of The Undertaker. Of course, it ended at WrestleMania 30. Shouldn't have, but it did. And I think, obviously, he's retired now, and I think his streak ended with it being, I think it was 20. I'm trying to think. Because I think when he lost against Brock, he would have been 22-1, if I'm not mistaken.
It was, no, it was 21-1.
Was it?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so 21-1. So then he beat Bray. That's 22-1.
Then he beat John Cena.
Then he beat John Cena at 32. So that would mean that would be 23-1. He then faced Roman, didn't he, at 33?
So that was 23-2.
So that would be 23-2. He then at WrestleMania 34. No, WrestleMania 34 is when he faced John Cena.
Yeah, but he also faced Shane McMahon, didn't he? Before, yeah.
Yeah, so Shane McMahon he faced at WrestleMania 32. He beat Shane McMahon. So
that was 4-2.
So yeah, so 24-2. So he then faced John Cena at WrestleMania 34, won that 24-2. He didn't have a match at WrestleMania 35. In fact, he didn't even appear. And then he had his final match at WrestleMania 36 in that Boneyard match with AJ Styles, and he won. So I think that's what, 25-2.
Was it 26-2? I don't know. Let's have a look.
25-2, I think.
I'll Google it.
Yeah, give it a quick Google and let us know. But I think if I calculated it right, it is 25-2. But yeah, I'll ask the question in a minute. I'll just wait for you to give us the actual answer to that. You got it?
Just a sec. So yeah, 21 consecutive wins before losing. He's got his own Wikipedia page. The streak. Let's have a look. End of the streak, so 21-1.
25-2. I've got it here.
Yeah. Overall record 25-2.
Yeah. So 25-2 was his end record when he retired. He has since appeared at WrestleMania. I believe only once. Oh no, he appeared when he was inducted in the Hall of Fame, and I think that was it then until he appeared at WrestleMania 40 to help Cody. So he stuck to his guns. He's not come back. I did hear something recently, or it might have been like the tail end of last year, where he did an interview and he said that I think because he had bad knees, didn't he? He said that, or hips or something like that, and he said that because he's not wrestled for a while now, he's managed to get everything that was wrong with him pretty much sorted because he's not wrestling anymore. And he said if needed, he could probably do one more match. But he didn't say he would definitely do that. He just said he would be capable of doing it. So that's not me confirming that Undertaker's doing one more match. That's just me stating what he said in an interview, that he could do it if needed. But it's not necessarily going to happen because...
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
Because I don't think Triple H would call on him. I think Triple H will respect the fact that he's retired. Vince would call on him. But Triple H, no. I don't believe so. So,
yeah, I think with The Undertaker, I think, I think we have seen the last of him in the ring, unfortunately. I think, and that's fine. I think we're okay with that now. I think we accepted the fact for a while that even then his best days were long behind him. And in my honest opinion, his final match with Triple H at WrestleMania should have been his last match. I think, obviously, it's easy to say this in hindsight with everything that's happened with Brock Lesnar in recent times, but it was the worst idea losing, having him end the streak or ending the streak at all. I'm just reading on Wikipedia, Undertaker said in an interview it would have made more sense for Roman Reigns to have ended the streak because
Yeah.
of the impact it would have had on their respective
Yeah,
careers.
I remember him saying that.
And I agree. I think it would have. I mean, Roman Reigns was already an established main eventer at that point,
Yeah.
but I think it would have made more sense having Roman Reigns do that end the streak than,
Yeah.
or indeed you know, had we known at WrestleMania 30 that Sting was going to come to WWE the next year, I think the streak would have continued because I think he would have had that match with Sting. I don't think Sting would have got the win over The Undertaker, but nevertheless, we would have had that match. And yeah, I think that was one of the big, in my opinion, one of the big fuck ups, excuse my language, in WWE. Well, I can think of other fuck ups as well, but in terms of, you know, that streak never ended. But it did.
Yeah.
And it's, gosh, more than 10 years ago now, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, it shouldn't have ended, but there you go. It happened.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. He Undertaker did say that. Going back to what you said there, he did say that it would have made more sense for Roman Reigns to end the streak, and I think he also said that the decision to have Brock win at WrestleMania was actually made on the day of WrestleMania. So Undertaker, leading up to WrestleMania and even the day of WrestleMania in the morning, thought he was winning, and then Vince does what he does best and completely tore the script up and rewrote it this day of WrestleMania to have Brock win. Now, I do remember, um, I do remember, ages ago before Brock came back to the WWE when Brock was still in UFC. Brock and I don't know if you've any of you've seen the video. I would
yeah,
assume you have,
I have. I have.
where Brock and Undertaker went not face to face in a disrespectful way or aggressive way, just sort of because they're friends. Undertaker was at a UFC event. Brock was there, and they chatted. Apparently, Undertaker said to Brock, "Come back to WWE, and we'll go at it." And I believe that Undertaker did say that if this streak was to end one day, he'd want Brock to end it. Now, whether he still had that mindset when it actually came to Brock ending it, or when it came to Vince telling Undertaker that Brock was going to end it, I don't know. I don't know if he would have changed his mind at that point. But what I do know is that it was a last minute decision, and Vince made that decision. It wasn't Undertaker that made that decision, it was Vince. And in my opinion, I think that's wrong. Because a streak that's lasted for that long, and the respect that Vince supposedly has for the Undertaker, and with them being good friends, you would have thought that Vince would have actually asked the Undertaker about it and said, "Is this okay?" Instead of just saying, "Right, this is what's happening. I've tore the script up. Brock's now going to win." He should have spoke to Undertaker and said, "Look, are you okay with this? If you're not, then we'll stick with the original plan. You will go over." Because I think that Undertaker should have been able to personally pick who was going to end that streak if it was ever going to end, because it gone on for that long that I think Undertaker had earned that right to pick who was going to end that lengthy streak. But unfortunately, he didn't get that. But anyway, I've gone off on a tangent. My question was going to be, and feel free to answer it first if you want to, or you can have a think and I'll answer it first. What before the streak? This is before the streak ended. So from WrestleMania, whatever the first WrestleMania it was, where the streak started, to WrestleMania 30. What? And feel free to answer it in the chat as well. on Twitch or on YouTube, what was your favourite streak match at WrestleMania? Do you need time to think about it, or do you know what your answer is?
No, I think well, I have a few, but I think for me personally, the most memorable ones were his WrestleMania 20. I would say his match against Batista at WrestleMania 23. I would say his match against Edge at WrestleMania. I think it was WrestleMania 24.
Yeah, it was.
He obviously had some memorable matches with Triple H, but I think the one that really does stand out, and I can't separate them because I feel that both, need to be lumped together because they told a story, was his two matches with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25 and 26, which were arguably two of the best WrestleMania matches of all time.
Yeah, I agree.
I can't think of any other rivalry of the Undertakers that was as iconic as that.
No, I can't.
Um,
Sorry.
and WrestleMania 26. I mean, I say you could say it was the same with the final match he had with Triple H, but it was truly the end of an era. For those both of those men, for Shawn Michaels and the Undertaker, WrestleMania 25 and 26 was, their swan song. It was their high watermark, and that was it. Everything else after that never really hit the heights.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd have to probably say WrestleMania 26.
Okay, well there you go. So for me, it's difficult for me sorry, it's difficult for me to pick between these two matches. So I'm gonna George says hi, Tomo. Hope you're doing good, my king. Yes, I'm doing fine, thank you. I hope you're okay as well. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult for me to pick between these two matches, so I'm going to lump them together and say that they're my joint favourite matches. And that would be WrestleMania 25 against Shawn Michaels, one of the best WrestleMania matches, if not one of the best matches I think I've ever watched. And his WrestleMania 28 match inside Hell in a Cell with Triple H. That was a phenomenal match. There were so many moments in that match that I honestly, when I watched it live, I honestly thought that the streak was ending. For instance, that super kick, that screeching music that Shawn Michaels did, obviously with Shawn Michaels being the special guest referee. Shawn Michaels super kicking Undertaker, because Undertaker had shoved him down or hit him or something like that. The screeching music into the pedigree, I thought that was it. And Undertaker kicked out at the last possible moment and obviously ended up winning. But I can't pick between them two. I absolutely love them two matches. In fact, I love both them WrestleManias as well. I rewatch them on a regular basis. But yeah, I would have to say for me it's a joint. It's joint between WrestleMania 25 with Shawn Michaels and WrestleMania 28 inside Hell in a Cell with Triple H. That's mine. So yeah, there we go. That's quite interesting to talk about. I'm just trying to think of other things that we've not talked about WrestleMania related.
I've got something that's sort of WrestleMania related with regards to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Which is obviously it's been a while now, but obviously you're aware. Obviously we've got the headline induction of Triple H, got the natural disasters, got Michelle McCool, we've got for the first time ever a match inducted, Stone Cold versus Bret Hart. But the one that's the most interesting for me, I think, is Lex Luger. Now, is he deserving of that honor? Of course. But I think, obviously, it goes without saying, for a number of years, there were rumors that he wasn't being inducted because of, and I'm not going to go into depth about it, details about his personal life, which have also involved, Miss Elizabeth, who obviously, as we all know, is sadly no longer with us. Now, obviously, Lex Luger's had a lot of challenges in his personal life as well. Those who are in the know will know that he's got some very severe health issues that has resulted in him being wheelchair bound for a very long time. He only really started walking again recently, but only, albeit briefly, thanks to, some rehab that he's undergoing with his good friend DDP, Diamond Dallas Page. So I think it's a case of, look, people make mistakes, and where they're genuinely remorseful, or where it's not as clear cut, they deserve a second chance. And clearly there are people within the WWE and outside the WWE who are vouching for him and lobbying on his behalf, and they would have not taken the decision to induct him, and with that, getting their current undisputed champion Cody Rhodes to personally make that announcement, if it wasn't something, if it wasn't sincere. And I sort of regret not taking my opportunity now to have met Lex Luger when he was in Manchester a few months back, because I didn't think he was a big enough deal, sadly. And I'm not going to go in depth about Lex Luger's career now, but obviously, as we may know, he was a two-time WCW champion. The first time he won it wasn't really memorable. The second time he won it, a very memorable moment on WCW Monday Nitro. But then, due to the other person being involved and, exercising his creative control card, brother, Lex Luger's title reign only lasted a few days before he lost it at the pay-per-view on the Sunday. So one would ask, what was the point of that? But he had his moment. So, and then obviously there was the kerfuffle in WWE when he jointly won the Royal Rumble with Bret Hart, and then didn't get his title match in the end. So, I think he's a worthy addition to the Hall of Fame. He played an important role in the WCW Monday Night Wars. And you know what? Congratulations, Lex Luger. That's all I can say.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I remember before it was announced. Every year that the Hall of Fame would come around, we would always have the discussion about Lex Luger and about whether he deserved it, whether he would actually get inducted one day. Was he good enough to get inducted? Was he a big enough deal? Was he a big enough name? And we had lengthy discussions about it, and I think we always ended up agreeing that we thought he would be inducted one day, and it has happened. And he has had some serious health issues. However, these serious health issues are, or at least when it comes to, walking and stuff, it's slowly improving because of, like my co-host said, the rehabilitation that he's been doing with DDP, Diamond Dallas Page. I mean, DDP has done some wonderful things with some of the WWE legends. I mean, he helped Jake the Snake. He's helping Lex Luger, and he's helped many other people as well. Amazing man.
Yeah, he truly is, and there's obviously talk about who's going to induct him. Now, obviously, one very obvious option would be Sting, given that he is one of Lex Luger's best friends. I'm not sure how that would work in theory, because Sting is still under AEW contract, but as he's not an active wrestler, I'm sure they could come to an agreement for one night for Sting to come back to WWE and induct him. If that wasn't going to happen, then obviously the next obvious choice for me would be Diamond Dallas Page, who is still under WWE contract as a WWE Legends contract.
Yeah.
If they wanted to get someone current, then obviously Cody Rhodes could do. There's all manner of people that could do it if they wanted to. So if Sting can't do it, then they've got options. The other point I would make as well is, if it's a case of that they've been able to sort of forgive Lex Luger, as it were. Not that I think that he needed to be demonized or anything, but if they're able to do that, then I think it's high time Miss Elizabeth got her induction.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
Um, I think, again, I'm not going to go in depth about the circumstances. It's there in Wikipedia. People have their demons, and we look at it. It was tragic, but there are so many people who have been inducted with tragic circumstances in their personal lives. Um, it shouldn't. Well, depending on what the circumstances were, but it shouldn't overshadow them in that way. And certainly for Miss Elizabeth, I don't think what happened in her personal life was that at that level that it should have barred her from being in the Hall of Fame. So I think it's a case of if they're able to kind of do that with Lex Luger, and rightly so, then Miss Elizabeth should be in there.
Yeah, like I said, I couldn't agree more. Um,
Yeah, there are a couple of things I also wanted to discuss non-wrestling related, but I'll let you continue first.
well, I'm just trying to think of other things WrestleMania related that we could talk about that we haven't really talked about, but I'm struggling really to think of any. So I'll have a little bit more of a think. You go ahead and talk about what you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, just a brief mention of some non-wrestling related stuff. A couple of weeks ago, we were all saddened by the passing of boxing legend George Foreman. For some, he's probably more famous for his grills, but he was first and foremost a former two-time world heavyweight champion, famously fought Muhammad Ali in the Rumble in the Jungle, and to this day also remains the oldest man to have won the world heavyweight championship. I had the privilege of meeting George Foreman in 2016. Great guy. It was a great moment, and I was personally very sad to hear about his passing. From a footballing perspective, today's result in the Manchester derby wasn't exactly what I wanted, but it is what it is. But I think the big talking point was, of course, the news earlier this week that Kevin De Bruyne will be leaving Manchester City after 10 years at the end of the season. A sad moment, of course. It's the end of an era, but at the same time, it's been increasingly clear that his his elite playing career has been dwindling, and where he ends up next, whether it's Saudi Arabia or the States, remains to be seen. But he will leave a void at Man City and in the Premier League that won't be ever be refilled. But a successor will come along, I'm sure.
Have you got my Twitch stream open?
No, why?
It's just as a comment that's come up that I want gone. I can't really do it at the moment. Will you just do that for me if you can? Yeah. I mean, I won't lie and say that I was, that I know a lot about George Foreman and that I know, I've watched his fights and stuff like that. I haven't, but I know of him obviously, and I know, how respected he is in the boxing world. I know what he's done. I know about him being the oldest world champion. And it's a big loss for the boxing world, absolutely, and a sad one at that. Very, very sad, and in terms of the football, well, I don't even think, as a United fan, it's worth even talking about football at the moment. But yeah, not the result that either City or United wanted. But at least it wasn't a loss. That's all I can say. Yeah, that's all I can really say about that.
I'm struggling to delete this comment. I don't know what's going on with my moderator settings. Oh, hang on.
You're still a moderator. I have not changed anything.
Uh,
Oh, there you go. It's gone. You got it. Thank you. Um. So, yeah. Uh, Definitely two important things to mention there. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
no, the other sort of big non-wrestling news this week, the long overdue, long awaited, but unsurprising announcement of the Switch 2. That's due to be released, not long now, in just 2 months' time on the 5th of June. The Switch has surpassed 150 million in sales. It places it about 10 million behind the PS2 as the biggest selling console of all time. The only two ahead of the Switch are Nintendo's own DS series and obviously the PS2. I will look to get a Switch 2 at some point, but the fact that it's almost as expensive, or if not, more expensive than a PS5 and an Xbox Series X or S is, obviously has been a big talking point, as well as the fact that the games might cost about £70 each. So, but nevertheless, it looks a very good system. It's certainly far more powerful than the Switch. Lots of improvements, but certainly at its core, still accessible and still unique as the Switch was. So, you know, in one way, it's the end of an era, with the Switch, the dominant console that it was, in terms of sales. But, it's just a continuation of that legacy.
Yeah. Look, I, I my history with Nintendo consoles is not a fantastic one. My first Nintendo console was a Nintendo Wii. Still have fond memories of that. It was such a good console. It had such a lot of fun games on it, like Wii Sports. Um, uh, and many. Honestly, my mind's gone blank. I can't think, but there was loads of good games on the Wii. But Wii Sports is the one I remember having the most fun on. It was brilliant. And then I had a Wii U. A lot of people feel like it was a step down from the Wii. That it wasn't as good. That it was a flop from Nintendo. And if you look at the sales, you probably would say it was a flop from Nintendo. And then after that was the Switch, of course, and Nintendo came back with a bang with the Switch. What a console it was, and I remember getting one not long after the release. And see, the thing is for me is I like to have all the consoles, so it's a very expensive hobby of mine to keep up with having all the recent consoles. I have a Series S, I have a PS5, I also have a gaming PC as well. It's not the best though, so I don't really play a lot of games on it. I mainly use my consoles, and I do have a Nintendo Switch as well. And I will be getting a Nintendo Switch 2. Probably not straight away, probably not at release, but at some point. Because I'll be honest, the games I've seen so far that are coming out for it, and I'm not especially excited for them. So I mean, I'm excited for Mario Kart, but I'm not going to buy a £350 console just for one game. So I will wait for a few months and see what other games are going to be coming out for it, and then go from there. But yeah, big news, and like my co-host said, it's not even that long until it's out. Just about 2 months. So yeah. Well, if that's all that we have to talk about, before we say goodbye, because I honestly can't think of anything else to talk about WrestleMania related. I do want to just talk about what I was talking about earlier when I said I have an idea for a stream before WrestleMania. Now, I don't know how my co-host will feel about this, but I'll say now, and then he can tell me what he thinks. But I'm thinking of doing a watch along of a WrestleMania before WrestleMania 41. So I don't know when it will be because obviously I haven't got my rotors leading up to WrestleMania or after WrestleMania yet. So I need to get them before I can actually tell you exactly what date I can do it on. But I want to do before WrestleMania. Maybe in WrestleMania week potentially, but it's always a busy week, WrestleMania week, in terms of streams, because I like to try and stream. Like last year, I think I streamed every single day in WrestleMania week, and I sort of want to try and do that again. So maybe one of the days that nothing is on, maybe on, because I think you've got Monday Night Raw, then there's NXT, and then there's don't think there's anything on the Wednesday or the Thursday, and then obviously Friday you've got SmackDown Hall of Fame, and then SmackDown you've got SmackDown. Saturday you've got Stand and Deliver, NXT Stand and Deliver. Then you've got WrestleMania Night 1, and then obviously Sunday WrestleMania Night 2. Now I'm not saying 100% I'm going to be able to stream Stand and Deliver, and I might not be streaming night 1 either because I might be going to a friend's to watch it, but I definitely will be streaming night 2. But I'll let you know nearer the time exactly what I'll be doing. But I suppose I could do it in WrestleMania week, but again I'll have to let you know. I might do it earlier than that. But yeah, if my co-host is interested in joining me for that, we will discuss what WrestleMania to watch, and then when I know what day I'll be doing it on, I will reveal what WrestleMania we'll be watching as well. But what do you think? Do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's a good thing to do in the build up to WrestleMania. Looking at WrestleMania's gone by, great moments. Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Okay, well there you go then. So it's a we will discuss what WrestleMania we're going to do. I mean, it could be one of the really old ones. It might be one of the most recent ones. We'll have to discuss and see what we can agree on, because I'm sure we've got different favourite WrestleManias. So we will discuss it and we'll come to some sort of agreement. And I will let you know when I have the date of when I can do it. Hopefully by then we will have confirmed what WrestleMania we're going to do as well. So we will do it. And the good thing is, it's all on Netflix. So, and I have a Netflix subscription. So we can just watch it on Netflix. So that'll be good. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the stream today. It's been fun to do this again. Like I said, definitely going to be doing another stream before WrestleMania. We're going to be doing a WrestleMania watch along. But I will tell you more about that when I know more. Keep an eye out on the community tab on YouTube, because that's where I'll put the details. So if you are not subscribed to me on YouTube and you're watching on Twitch, go over to YouTube. Same name as it is on Twitch, Tom Burns. But on YouTube there is a space between the Tom and the Burns. So yeah, go and search for me on YouTube, subscribe to me on there, and then you'll keep an eye on the community tab, because that's where I will let you know what day I'm doing the stream, what time, and what WrestleMania we're going to be doing. Like I say, hope you enjoyed the stream. I've really enjoyed it. It's been great to come back and do this. And thank you for everyone that's tuned in. Genetic ACGT, thank you for tuning in. I don't know if you're still there. And yeah, that's all I really have to say. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon. It's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
Bye, everyone.